Hamas militants broke through barriers around Gaza and entered Israel at will, killing scores of civilians in Israeli towns. The surprise attack by Hamas on Israel suggests a massive intelligence failure, and analysts are flagging it as intelligence gaps, which undermines what was thought to be an aggressive and successful layered approach towards Gaza by Israel. Israeli agencies and defense chiefs are facing growing questions over how this disaster unfolded. It has become a cause for deep embarrassment in Israel's security community. Citing a source close to Hamas, Reuters stated that the militant group conducted a years-long campaign to manipulate Israel. Hamas fooled Tel Aviv into believing it was not aiming for an armed conflict. The Hamas assault by air, land, and sea also raised questions as to why U.S. intelligence agencies apparently did not see this coming. U.S. officials say that if the Israelis knew of this attack, and whether they knew it was imminent, they did not share it with Washington. U.S. officials, meanwhile, have so far refused to label the attack as being an intelligence failure. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said that no one saw the violence coming, but the very lack of intelligence had led to the death of 9 Americans in Israel. According to reports, U.S. officials are discussing enhancing intelligence sharing with the Israelis to support the Israeli government in response to the Hamas attack. Moreover, the United States, which is now deploying warship and fighter jets near Israel, once said the situation in the Middle East is now live and let live. Days before the attack, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan pulled out a long list of positive developments in the Middle East, while adding that these developments are allowing the Biden administration to focus on other regions and problems. But according to an Egyptian intelligence official, Cairo repeatedly warned Tel Aviv. However, the official said the Israeli officials were more focused on the West Bank and ignored the threats from the Gaza Strip. For more on this, we are now being joined by Dr. Hadass Cohen from Washington, D.C. Dr. Cohen is a professor of political science in the Israel Institute, the University of Oklahoma. Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for joining us on WION. Many are calling this an intelligence failure, not only on the part of Israel, but on the part of the United States as well. How do you see this issue?
I see it as exactly as you have just defined it, a huge intelligence failure, not only on behalf of the Israeli side, but also on behalf of the international intel communities. I mean, Israel does not have the only interest in monitoring what is going on in Gaza, what is going on vis-a-vis Iran, and the support that it gives to different military fractions in the area. And this, I think, future will tell exactly what happened there and how could they have done what they have done. How could they have gone into Israel without the barrier detecting their entrance? I mean, some of the story we know, they went into one of the major army headquarters and basically murdered the soldiers that were monitoring the barrier. The element of surprise was very strong after the attack, but in regards to not detect how all of this, what was leading up to it, that is indeed something that will have to be studied deeply if we in Israel would like to avoid that again.
Dr. Cohen, I've heard former U.S. officials, because this administration is not admitting that it's an intelligence failure, but former U.S. officials say that perhaps Hamas and whoever was backing Hamas use old school methods because countries like Israel and the United States are so advanced technologically in their intelligence sharing that they might have missed, things with even as easy as letters, papers, things like that, messaging apps, so to say. What are your thoughts on that? And also, does this intel failure have an impact on how U.S. allies view, intelligence sharing with the United States and perhaps Israel, which is America's biggest ally in the Middle East?
So let me start with the first part of your question regarding using paper and pens. Honestly, anyone's guess is as good as mine right now. I don't know. There are rumors floating around in Israel that perhaps it was a cyber attack. And this is how they managed to basically dim the screens that were monitoring what was going on. I think the question is, how is it that intel from inside Gaza did not report it? What the question that should be asked is, what kind of organizational makeup or structure Hamas used in order to keep this under wraps and under complete silence? Because this was an operation that was huge. And if you look at the number of participants, perhaps one answer would be that not all of the training was done in Gaza. Perhaps some of the training was done in Iran. And if I have to say that if you look at the cruelty and what was done to Israeli citizens, going from house to house, burning down the house, and then making families come out of the houses and then gunning them, old women, old men with dementia, young children being shot to death. I have to say that this is a Russian, this reminds me of what happened in Ukraine, how the Russians treated the Ukrainians, the Russian army. So I don't know. I think that there is a possibility that they were trained outside of Gaza, and then they were brought in, I mean, the fighters, through the tunnels. So, and again, right now, those intelligent communities personnel guess is as good as mine. Regarding that. Regarding sharing information, I believe that between allies, information is shared. And we see right now the complete support that Israel is receiving from the United States with the Armia, the fleet that is right now heading towards Israel. That is a very clear sign both to Hezbollah and to Iran. Don't you dare escalate the conflict, because right now the Americans will intervene. And I believe that we haven't seen something such extreme and clear and transparent support since the Yom Kippur War in 1973, when Israel received, I mean this is a message to the world and to Israeli enemies, including, by the way, Hamas.
Yeah, I mean, barbaric. Barbaric is the only way to describe what we witnessed during the weekend. Dr. Hadass Cohen, thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with us on this very important matter. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Sure, of course. Thank you.